Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, Tuesday. I tell you what, browsing through Reddit yesterday, so many retail traders complaining about the trading conditions that they were just kind of getting tossed around yesterday. And I kind of feel like I tried to warn everybody yesterday. No? Well, we might be in for some similar difficult conditions today, but I do see some stuff happening overnight. So let's take a look at things before I make any huge predictions. Okay, so here is the Treasury continues on the downswing, and it really kind of seems like that they're saying, hey, if the stock market ends up being okay, then interest rates need to go back up again. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like this range is okay. But look, they are like breaking the range overnight. So there is a little bit of momentum possible over here in the 10-year treasuries. Got to keep an eye on that. Of course, there's also going to be a tendency for them to try and push it back into the range. S&P 500 pushing up a little bit. It was a pretty good day yesterday. It was choppy for them, but it was still a good up day. Oil on the upturn as well. Gold and silver still kind of going so well. Silver recovering a little bit. Kappa looking good. 6J. Okay, so a little bit of upside here in the 6J this morning, but still within the overall trends and so forth. And the dollar kind of going a bit more sideways, and Bitcoin pulling back from the 88,000, but just gently. So yeah, I'd say that most markets kind of look a little meh. There is like this move going on about 30 points or so in the S&P 500 this morning, though. So that's a little curious. Coming back over on the docket today, we have some house price index numbers and Feds Williams speaking. CB consumer confidence, that might be an important thing. We have a 2-year note auction. So nothing huge going on, but we do have a few things happening. So I would expect things to still be relatively quiet today. And perhaps that is a good opportunity for me to dive into some other things. But first, I think I'm going to open the window because it's just really hot in here. I had the fan on and everything. It just did not cool off. So hold on. Must be spring. Hopefully that. You can hear all of the sounds from outside. It's kind of like, what is all those things? I think it's like the sound of the freeway off in the distance. Oh yeah, I can already feel it cooling off. That's good. That's good. Octavia says strong delta off of the opening push. About 3,000. It's sitting right at my seller's cost basis right now. So this opening move is definitely contrary to the overnight. I do suspect that we're getting some high time frame mean reversion trades here. I'm not sure. I've definitely seen this before. Like I've definitely seen this before, but I'm just not sure if it's enough of a flow for a trade for me or not. Is it 14K since the open? Now I only have it from, well, maybe I'm reading this wrong. -74 to -58. Oh. Okay, so it is about 15K, yeah. Yeah, okay, so but that does kind of coincide with the idea of like that's about what I would expect to see if there was like a mean reversion play coming in here, right? I'm just not convinced that it's enough for me to take a trade from here, especially with it at the cost basis, you know? Like there's a good chance that it bounces there or fizzles out. Let's just keep an eye on it. I think at the very least we might see some mean reversion, but it's going to probably be a little bit choppy and tight. I'm going to turn the fan on too to try and circulate the air. I just won't turn it on super hard so that you don't hear it. Won't turn it on super high. But I can already feel all the cool air pooling at the bottom. Getting some Fed comments right now. But doesn't sound like anything unusual. That's interesting that the news squawk is talking about. So there was a story yesterday that an editor from The Atlantic said that he was added in on a private White House group chat of sorts. It was like a mistake. They mistakenly added him. and they said that, or the guy from the Atlantic said that they were like discussing stuff that should not be public. Let's say like war plans and things like that. And I keep seeing all these headlines from the Trump administration denying that they were talking about war plans. Which I'm kind of like, it sounds like they were, though. I don't know. But it's curious to me that the news squawk decides to mention a Trump administration official denying that. You say money has turned into stocks these days? This week, I would say yesterday the flow is definitely coming into stocks, which I am a little bit like, like we're still going to have tariffs on the 1st, right? Is that not? You're not concerned about that anymore, market, huh? Okay. It's already priced in, I guess. Oh, that reminds me. We've got a video. So the video yesterday, we were going to put it out yesterday. And, but there was a few spelling mistakes that we wanted to fix. And, so my video editor, he fixed that and then sent me the link and went to sleep. And, the link that he sent me was the wrong link. So he sent it to me last night and, we'll fix that. There was a little bit of a we're moderating, but then they were right back up there, and not on any of Delta or anything. It is just like the market makers. So, that right there feels to me like the kind of action that on a day like this I really dislike. You know, that's the sort of chop that makes things so difficult. Even though the uptrend in treasuries, at least so far, is still intact. Okay, interesting. There was a big burst of volume there, and they just slammed into a huge iceberg at 15. Jigsaw. They released a new version a couple of days ago, but is it out of beta now? I'll go check in a second. No, it's beta. Is it a new version just today? That's weird. Oh, it's from a few days ago, yeah. So the one from a few days ago was kind of like, there wasn't like many new features, so that's why I didn't bother, because I tried the newer version and it was okay, but there was still some issues, and so I didn't want to risk it. I checked out your Delta vid. However, by the time it shows a huge order being executed, it's almost too late. That I think that's correct, Aminash. That's totally correct. If you're only using the market data and you're just watching cumulative delta, then by the time you see that a large order is being executed, it's often too late. Now, with the things that I was talking about, like when you see really strong autocorrelation in cumulative delta and really strong correlation between price and cumulative delta, those are trends that will last all day. All right. But it's kind of like if you get in at that exact moment, you're probably going to have price come back on you immediately. And then like an hour later, it will push to new highs and you'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have given up on it. That sort of a thing, right? So this goes back to, and we were kind of talking about this a lot yesterday too, that, what you want, if you've got like a range and then, it trades on the range, or actually there's like a range and then it breaks out of the range and then it retests and moves up. And this is kind of the setup that a lot of people will try and use. And really, if you get in here, it's like you end up getting in right when the move is ending, usually. And really what you would like to do is get in over here somewhere where it was quiet, right? So the real trick here is you want to know something that's going to predict the future orders. That's going to say, hey, they're going to come in. I think that this one today that we're having, because this is actually pretty close to what it looks like right now, that it is a mean reversion play on the daily bars. Okay. So that could be an example. So you're expecting daily mean reversion players to come in, right? Then they're going to buy.
Block sell.
And you're going to see that in cumulative delta. So because you're expecting that flow, that means that your threshold for, seeing orders come in that direction is a lot lower, right? So you can get in a lot sooner. So that's the thing is, there is some real power. It's one of the most powerful things that you can use in terms of like the technical data, but it will not cover for not being informed. Essentially, you still need to expect order flows and predict what other people are going to do before they do them. Uzi, what are you talking about? All-time highs. Oh, AO said CB's pushing all-time highs. No. But highs of today. So again, coming back to this, we had a pretty strong range. We fell out of the range in the overnight session. And so what I would expect to see is some mean reversion players trading it on the expectation that it's going to come back into this range. Problem is, I don't know how much further they can get. You know what? If I had... So they did move up a little bit further. Actually, let me come back over here. So earlier we said, okay, it started out right here. Well, I don't know if that's one that I want to take because once you get between these two lines, it's a little bit iffy. But it did continue through up to the buyer's cost basis. But you can see, even if I had gotten in there, I would have only made like 2 ticks maybe. So it's still not out of the woods. It's kind of coming back a little bit. Kind of the problem there. Again, I don't know if it's a strong enough flow to really ride it. It might be like a really short-lived sort of a thing. Yeah, one thing I kind of forgot about was that they were having like a major policy meeting yesterday, the Trump administration was. And then this whole firestorm came up about that Atlantic article and didn't really hear any kind of economic policy change from the administration. So we still don't really know what they're thinking. Kathy Woods predicts Tesla will hit 2,600, of course. She's underwater. Is she actually underwater on Tesla? I don't think. Yeah, I don't. I mean, hasn't she held that the whole time? Or wasn't it that she did she got out? Oh, that's right. She got out. Maybe she got back in and she is underwater on the new position. I don't know. I really don't think that she knows what she's doing, man. Yeah. It's really wild to me that she's gained as much prominence because, like, does she really have that many fans? I don't know. Aside from the fact it was on an insecure server, the fact a mediator was included. Yeah, but the thing that's weird about it again is the Trump administration coming out and basically calling like the whole story garbage and denying it. So I don't know. Everything she touches turns to... Well, ever since she got big, I mean, I think the first thing is that they are just way too big for a fund of that nature to even work. You're going to be paying too much to execute. And you can definitely see that at work. But what I'm asking is, who are the people keeping this lady afloat? Who are the Kathy Wood fans? Because I've never seen them. I must be in my own bubble. Has it been corroborated? I don't know. I think you're kind of missing the point. See, I think the point that you're trying to make is, oh, this is totally bad. This is a bad thing. Okay. Sure. I'm not denying that. It's just I don't really care. and why don't I really care? Does it help me predict the future or anything? No, not really. So I don't really care, right? But how they deal with the media headline does matter to me. That does help me predict the future. That they maybe have less leeway on certain things. It might help me understand how they tend to deal with certain issues. These sorts of things, right? And so that's why it's really weird to me that it is like outright denial. I do think that the person from the Atlantic is somebody that's kind of released hyperpartisan stuff, right? But they're not going into enough detail for me to say, oh, well, they did this, but not this, or you know what I mean? It's just like, so maybe it is just reflexive, deny everything kind of strategy from the Trump administration. I don't know. But more so than that, it's weird to me that I'm hearing people in the finance world talk about it, because so far I'm not sure I really see the market implications for it. Right? trying to cool the room down, but it is slowing. It is cooling off a little bit, but it's still hot. Yeah, that comment just shows to me that you didn't listen to a thing that I just said. Yeah, don't make it too obvious. Yeah, I'm on to it. I'm realizing now, like yesterday, yeah, I saw a couple of comments in there where I was like, is that Tilt? Is this our Tilt guy that comes into our channel and tries to troll us? I hadn't seen him. He's surely trying to build another account. Pick an obviously Indian name to throw me off of it. Yeah. And now today I'm kind of starting to see it. Because and like, what is the tell? Is that like I just said something and he completely ignores everything that I say and continues to try and push it into the partisan direction. Hey, and Steffa. He was doing, yeah, he was. You know, so Uzi, I'm not going to tell you what his theory is, but Uzi has a theory, a larger theory about this, and I think that his theory is unlikely, but like the longer this goes on, the more I'm kind of like, does kind of. There are some similarities. Okay, so Hillary's email was much to do about nothing then, Okay, so I'll explain to you why Hillary's email was much more interesting to us. Because Hillary's email was basically why she didn't become president. Like, if that had not happened, I think there was a very, very good chance that she would have won that election. So there was something that we found out. Good. How long had it been? I want to say it was like 9 months before the election. It was highly predictive of how the election was going to turn out. In other words, it mattered because it affected her ability to get reelected. Donald Trump's not up for reelection, so... So, like, it looks bad for the administration, I guess, but why does it matter? Why does it matter as to what's going to happen in the future? Well, in the future, they'll be more careful, I'm sure. But I don't know if it really changes anything. Democrats are going to grab for anything they can right now. They're not doing very well. But I don't really feel like it moves the needle for anything. My job is not here to sit and tell the administration how to do their job or when they're doing something bad or when they're doing something good or anything like that. My job is to predict the future. Now, dude, this singular event has totally convinced me to vote Democrat for the rest of my life. have military personnel have been fired for less that might be true. I don't think that's going to happen, so I do kind of wonder, like, who are these people that are still hardcore dedicated Democrats at this point? Like, I can see people saying, well, I'm Democrat. I tend to vote Democrat. You're not going to find me voting for a Republican, but I'm not very happy with where my party is right now. Right? But I still see these people that carry water for the Democrats on anything, and I just can't imagine being in that world right now and being, you know, the ones that are like out on social media making a big deal about every little news story they can to make the Trump administration look bad and that stuff. Like, aren't they tired of it by now? I don't. Did Hillary's emails? No. On that note, though, they discussed what was happening, but they didn't discuss war plans. I think that's the point that the Trump administration is trying to make, but that they didn't do anything illegal. But I don't know. If their strategy is just denial, it's kind of an interesting way to. Probably would be better to just ignore it. Yeah, how does your pulling and stacking indicator work? So every time, so the way that it works is the way the updates come in, it'll say the liquidity or sorry, the offer at 15.5 is 4,000. And now the offer at 15.5 is 57.59, right? And you just keep getting those updates. So if I get so what I'm doing is I'm looking at the difference between what was there before and what I get on the new update. That's like probably more detailed, but the result is it is stacking and pulling. It is stacking and pulling. And so it's showing you like, sorry, which one? Are we talking the resting orders one? Right? Or are you talking about the market depth tape? Yeah, jigsaw snapshots are kind of more like, here's what it was shortly after we last ticked up or down. And then here's how much it has changed since then, is how the snapshots work. So I have a couple of them that they approach it a slightly different way, right? So like my market depth tape, that is the difference between what was there and the last update. So just over one update is different from the snapshots, and it allows you to identify individual large orders, right? So when there is a big stack or a pull, you know, you might look at it and you say, oh wow, there's 6,000 there now. That's big. But we can come on the market depth tape and we can see, okay, it was actually 1016 that was added or pulled. I can see them messing around with this around these orders around two orders away all day, right? But there's another one which is like resting orders, and that is like aggregate of everything. That's like, what is the most amount during that time period? What is the most amount of liquidity that was placed on bids, and what was the least amount of liquidity that was placed on bids? Because you might have something like, you know, I have this huge order here a couple of ticks away, and then I'm like moving it around, moving it back and forth like this, right? And so if I was to look at that individual price, I would see, oh, like it increased by 500 and it decreased by 500. But like the actual liquidity overall hasn't changed because I'm just moving the order, right? And so those indicators are meant to filter that kind of activity out, to give you an idea of both like what is the total amount of resting liquidity on each side and how much is each side kind of shifting around. So you kind of look at what's the difference between the maximum amount of liquidity that was put on and the minimum amount of liquidity that was put on. And that will kind of tell you people have these orders that they're kind of moving around. And when things shift, when the market shifts, that activity seems to shift as well. So it keys you off to, well, I hear it is over here, right? So when resting orders crosses the 0 line, typically indicates significant changes in the market. Right now, this resting order is filtered. That's the one that I would probably recommend using. It's just kind of like a very, very small and going back and forth. That is indicative of a market that doesn't really have a very strong bias and is just kind of market making. Yeah. We'll make a video about that at some point. I think the next video I would need to make is going to be about the dollar index. And then I want to make one about the market order imbalance specifically. But then, oh, by the way, turn on the robot. How come I always forget that, huh? Come in here and see if it would have triggered. But then maybe I can do one on the orders filtered stuff. Yeah. After this video, we're kind of like at another crossroads where it was like the main content that I really wanted to get out, putting it out. So we'll see. In past weeks, when I got the free time, it was like rush to get the next video ready. But, because they had the video editor and all that. But after this, really don't think we can afford that. So we kind of just have to let the content that we have speak for itself and go back to a more casual pace. And that means I will probably spend this time looking, more studying, probably. I guess I should also probably be programming in Rust like right now, but I can see now I get into the mode of, oh, I want to talk, and not into the mode of I want to think about programming. Granted, today would be a good day to do it because it's been pretty quiet, hasn't it? Tell you what, it sure has been going sideways now, hasn't it? Oh boy, if government outlawed fractional reserve banking, we would all be probably not. Probably be in a depression right now if you didn't have fractional reserve banking actually. Do I have new home sales? It's kind of like I feel like new home sales is like a B tier, if not C tier. Yeah. I don't know if it will really move the markets. It's not inconsequential, but it's pretty meh. The Japanese yen has been trending up nicely this morning, though. Yes, doing good. You know, we were like 10 minutes before the open over there, so. Copper is trending, yes. That one is kind of like when you come over here and you look at it on my chart, you see copper. It's like, holy crap. That looks amazing. But the scale is messed up. Look at the scale. Like that was midnight, so when you look at just our trading session, it's a lot quieter. let's see what happens if equity shows weakness, and maybe yeah. See, that's more like it, right? Is it if the S&P 500 opens and is a sell? I don't know if it would be. I mean, they have a pretty good rally coming up into the morning, so I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. But that could give the treasuries the boost they need for the buyers to take full control of it. It's been sitting right on that buyer's line, so there could be some accumulation going on here. One X will test humanoid robots in a few hundred homes in 2025. Oh boy. Well, they're just stepped out of there. Not a new high, but they did kind of step out of the hole that they were in. That looks like something that could run a little bit. I feel like it's too late for me to jump on board. I could probably make it tick. The SPOO's taking a little bit of a dive here just before the open. Oh, that one doesn't make sense. I was just thinking, oh, what if they came back on me? Could get a fill there. There's no way that that's gonna happen. Somebody just bought a huge tranche there, right? That whole, there might be some accumulation going on here. I think that was the case. But I think the thing is that the only flow that we really had going into this was, well, they might try and trade the treasuries back into the range. This is clearly much more than that, isn't it? Because we're getting these correlations with equities taking a bit of a hit there. Okay, so here's the open. Normally this kind of moves is trap. I think that there was definitely a large buyer interested in there. The problem is just that might have been they might have just bought everything that they wanted to, and now it's going to fall back on itself a little bit. maybe a large buyer on the market side, but a large seller on the offer side. Well, so remember the heuristic that I would recommend using for that sort of a thing is to just assume that the market makers, or sorry, the resting liquidity is either market makers or profit takers. So seeing an increase in the willingness of the liquidity providers to take fills is an interesting thing. But ultimately, the movement favors the direction of the market orders, which is clearly long. It's just you had such a big impulse there. You know, this is a setup that you probably pull back a few ticks. Actually, maybe 17 is all you get, and in terms of a pullback. And then it sits there for an hour before pushing up again an hour later, right? It sure does seem like they were able to grab a bunch of orders there on that one. It's just, you know, I was coincided with that drop in equities too. So that's another thing is that might have, well, I don't know. There was volume behind it though. It's still relatively mild in the S&P 500 first 5 minutes. The room is still a little bit too warm, but like my feet are getting cold. So like all the cold air is pulling it by my feet. nibbling a little bit there at 18. I think that like the grab is over, but you know, there's still buyers there. Oh yeah, so my new video should be published if you want to watch that. I grab the link here for you guys. Hmm. Definitely created a hole at 17.5, haven't they? Seeing gold take a run here. Okay, S&P is turning down big time here. Ooh, I was able to stuff that in there. The front of the queue really easy. Well, but then it canceled. Ah, that's funny. I think I'm going to close the door now. It's starting to make my eyes water. I'm going to cancel that. I kind of want to start on the making our own platform, but I feel kind of frozen doing it here. I think I need to do, like get something started off stream, and then once, because it's kind of hard to start things, and especially when I've got other things going on. I think I'll do it tomorrow afternoon. He's down 5 points from the open? Yes. That drop there was definitely some sort of a headline there. But it must have been something specific to an individual stock. It definitely triggered a lot of activity and orders coming out from the treasuries, though. It was very short-lived. I think I'm lucky that I caught the one tick that I did. I have to say, I should say we're pleasantly surprised by today's action. I wouldn't say that it's amazing by any means, but we've definitely got a trend going, right? I think it's been one that, like, if you're not willing to, like, sit and hold through the whole trend, it's probably been pretty frustrating. But I was able to pull a tick, so, like, that's not terrible. I don't know. I'm seeing reloading, iceberging on the bid. What did your bot do? Nothing. It is not. There was never a large enough impulse to trigger them. Oh, actually, it went long. I take that back. It went long. It went long at 6:30. So it would have gotten out probably at the 16th. So it would have made 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks. It's showing me an entry there, but not an exit because I forgot to turn it on. Yeah. I forgot to turn it on, so I think that that's why you're seeing that it was, yeah. But it is an entry, yeah. It is an entry long. You're just not seeing the exit because it didn't actually take it. Excuse me. Because I was too late. If I had turned it on first thing, then we might have gotten it. Interestingly enough, it was like right when the stream started too. That's interesting. Huh. I'm surprised by that because the opening kind of gave me tepid signs. I didn't think that it was that much of an imbalance. Say the robot's doing pretty good though, yeah? I think well, you know, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it right now, I guess, but you know, a little bit of work on order entry and an exit and everything, I think we could have something pretty good. It kind of looks to me like the entire commodities complex is moving off of this. Because copper is really extended. Gold is up. Bitcoin took a little bit of a hit, but not too much. Ugh. Newsquack thinks that traders are betting on tariffs today. Hmm. Should I recenter? Hmm. The news squawk was just talking about an analyst report suggesting that the US is going to be eating a lot of copper and that there's going to be a global copper shortage. Is that why copper's breaking out so hard today, huh? Strippins, yeah. I think in terms of like looking for a trend that like has a possibility to extend further, but it being really, really uncertain, this is like the most borderline I think you're ever going to get. The problem I see is that a lot of this movement up above 16 has been correlated to S&P 500 moves, and I'm really not sure what the S&P 500 is going to do. Okay, we're getting pulling for the news here. So that's a little bit more polling than I would expect for this level of news. Okay, well, the consumer confidence was 92.9 versus an expected 94, so weaker than expected. New home sales 1.8 versus 3.5 expected. So that all looks dovish. Well, they did extend by two ticks there. Flow there at 20 looks actually reasonably balanced now. Oh man, I feel sleepy today. Oh, there you go. 3,000. They just plowed through that 20 half. Spoo's deciding to sell off now. 10-year, I'm getting signs of slipperiness here. Yeah. Last few ticks have been all less than 1,000 contracts. Okay, 2,600. Doesn't hold. Down tick. Yeah, that's... Basically, the impulse off of the news is already over, and you're getting this screwing around in this area now. What are the odds of having a sell mid? Or well, I don't know if I would say that there really was one yesterday, though. I kind of viewed yesterday as really tight and quiet. I think that today we are getting a buy. I think today we're getting 3 small size meta orders. I think you got one that is trading back into the range for mean reversion. I think one is that news that we just had, the consumer confidence. I don't think that one's huge, but there definitely was some volume off of consumer confidence. And then the third one is a flight to safety from equity markets acting a little weak. But I think that the biggest one was the equities. So that's where I'm like really, really weary. We're unsure about like if this continues. I mean, it has been, because we've been kind of messing with it since the 16 or so. But I just don't see this as a situation where I feel super confident about like just trying to hold it all day, you know? What? U.S. intelligence report says Iran is not building a nuclear weapon? I'm shocked. Oh, but maybe that is back to that whole thing that like the new Iranian president is trying to take a different approach. Russia is developing a new satellite meant to carry a nuclear weapon? Oh my gosh, no. You're going to hear that headline a lot now. Russia putting nukes in space, that's going to trigger people so hard. The boomers are going to lose their minds. Like the Democrat boomers are going to lose their minds now. Because like it seems like Donald Trump is capitulating on Ukraine and everything. And then they're going to be like, yes, and you're going to let, then we're going to have a nuclear war with Russia. CNN comic Michael Ian Black smears deceased former Representative Mia Love as DEI Congresswoman? I am so offended. I loved that woman. She was so much fun. But working with her when we helped her with that first campaign, her dying this week has been... I was so shocked to hear. And people on the news saying shit like that just makes me so mad. I can't believe that somebody would be dumb enough to say that. And they've given up pretty much all those gains since that report. still higher in cumulative delta too, so you might have some trapped traders here. If the other two meta orders that I think are kind of going on at this time, which again would be the mean reversion back into the range, which I think there could still be some in that. Like I don't think that those guys would really back off until like 22. Maybe that one is over as well. So then the only remaining one that you got is the S&P 500, which is uncertain. So is this a situation where we could get a reversal? I think it is. If the S&P 500 turns around, we could get a hard reversal. And then at that point, the trap traders would really fuel it. I think that it's probably a little bit too late in the session for me to really make a really high conviction play off of that. But let's just keep that scenario in mind. And if it happens, we'll pretend like, I totally 100% believed it full-heartedly. And gonna have to bring the air filter in here because my eyes are watering. There's definitely some pollens out there. holding at 19. So I see some evidence of trap traders. They don't look panicked to me. I am also kind of seeing some signs here that the S&P wants to test higher, though. Let's see, there's definitely more buying coming in to the S&P futures than there was selling. Like the net selling was like 1,000, and we're already 2,500 on the buy side. So cumulative delta over there is a little weird because that's not, the orders aren't the most dominant force behind what moves the S&P 500. But it does seem to tell us that the futures guys are more interested in the buying side than on the selling side. Maybe test the high? Well, they're awfully close to it. Still kind of going there in the ES. I'm a lot more focused on the price action today. I hope it's not boring, because it's probably more like what we should be doing most days. But this is first time in a while where I wasn't necessarily expecting a flow, but I kind of saw the possibility and wanted to see how it turns out, you know? And so I think I'm interested in this one, not because I thought it was a really good opportunity and I really wish that I had traded it harder or anything like that, but just it was a unique enough situation that I wanted to see what the flows were. And, you know, it did turn out. I think there ended up being a lot more to it, though. I would really like to see a day where, like, nothing happens, but it does return back into the range. David Grush hired to investigate UFOs for Congress? Whoa. Okay. Wait, what? YouTuber lets 800,000 people edit the same Google spreadsheet homework at once? I see. Oh my gosh. Wow. People just come in and start changing it all at once. What? I was going, what? Was it because as soon as he sends it, he gets like hundreds of people join in? And you can see all of the different names on the spreadsheet going in and changing it. That's crazy. And people just keep deleting the whole thing. Jeez. They're almost a 3,500 net buy in the S&P 500 now. So bonds and spoos bid who's going to bend the knee first. I'm surprised that the bonds came back up there towards the top, even though the S&P 500 is buying. Because my whole thinking was, if the S&P 500 breaks out to new highs, that it could really kill the bonds and you'd have some trap traders over there in the bonds. Well, I suppose that if there are trap traders in the bonds, that they haven't given up. But I still see buying. I still see pretty strong and consistent meta order buy. And I wouldn't consider, there was the highs from like just before the overnight session, before this bearish kind of move before the open came in, was 58.34-ish. So we're not quite there, but we're close. I'm kind of worried that if the S&P 500 does make a new high, that it won't be before the stream ends. You think that NQ will test and reject? I don't know why my voice cracked on that one, but I don't know. Anytime we think that the S&P 500 is going to do something, I've kind of, like on a short-term basis, it's just really hard. I really think that when you got something really happening, right? Like there's a major economic change, or Federal Reserve said something and it's causing the S&P 500 to move. Like you can get crazy moves, especially if you can hold overnight, because that's the sort of thing that like it could go on for like 3 days or something. But those opportunities are so much few and far between, and there's just so much more noise to deal with in the S&P. I've learned to not rely on it doing or not doing something too much. There's certainly like the possibility, but I wouldn't be like, like in this case, let's say that I really, really strongly believe that the S&P 500 is going to break the high and that it's going to cause the treasuries to break down. I don't think that I would get ahead of that. I think that I would be waiting for a lot more confirmation on it. Just because the S&P 500 will fake you out so much. Artificial empathy surpasses therapists. Could it be the solution to the global mental health crisis? "20 minutes left." This is a meme format I think I could see getting popular. It's a Simpsons clip where this person is running down the hall and they go past all of these doors, and then there's one door that's like has extra surveillance behind it. So for that, it's a GIF format, so that might be hard. Well, 15. Oh, wait. They just broke it in ES. It's going to say the treasuries are still flat. So maybe this third meta order I was talking about, like the flight to safety, maybe that really wasn't never there, and it was always primarily the mean reversion trade. Because the SPOOs have recovered, they're pushing new highs. Treasuries have not reacted whatsoever. I want to do some reading today, and I feel a little sleepy. I'm worried that I will have a hard time staying awake for it. Monster Energy helps me. Well, I take ADHD medications in the morning, but for some reason, every once in a while, I'll still get this situation where I still feel sleepy. I wouldn't even say that like I got to bed too late last night or anything like that. I'd say it was just kind of standard. I haven't taken a nap in the past few days. I haven't had a chance, so. Could be. Do you think like allergens could make me feel sleepy? I don't know. After the stream, though, I'm definitely pulling my big air filter in here and cleansing. Took some Ritalin and Elvance for some exams. Felt like a limit. Okay, wait. Oh, I don't know what that other one is. Are you spelling that wrong? Vyvanse? Did you mean Vyvanse? You did that and you didn't experience euphoria? So like if the feeling that you get is I feel limitless rather than euphoria, like I just feel unreasonably positive about everything, then that means that you're totally ADHD. Oh, yes, you experienced the euphoria. Okay. It's interesting. I'm not familiar with this one. You know what? There's so many more medications than there used to be. For my stepkids, you know, they prescribed completely different stuff, and I'm kind of like, I don't know if this is that effective. Probably our ADHD. Like people don't understand, man. It's like 15 to 20% of the population. Like it's not uncommon. When there's this thing that's like, oh, you know, like it must be overprescribed or it's an excuse for something else because all of a sudden there's so many people that are having it. Well, yeah, it's a really common disorder. At the same time, I'm really frustrated by all of the commentary about autism because the kind of autism that everybody on TikTok talks about and not the same kind of autism that my son has. Yesterday he did not want to get into his car seat to go to school. And so, like, as I'm driving along, he gets out of the seat. So I got to pull over and put him back in. And, like, it stopped right in front of a bunch of construction workers working on the shed. And my goodness, he was throwing such a fit. He was screaming at the top of his lungs, and everybody probably thought that I was, like, beating him up or abducting him or who knows what. But oh man, and when I'm done dealing with him after an episode like that, I have to, like, it is emotionally draining. I have to, like, sit down and take a break. It's and then TikTok treats out autism like, oh, I'm just a little quirky. Okay. That, or all of the people that have the disorders that don't really understand what they are. That's another thing that bothers me. Oh, you got to show me? Okay. Yeah, you can just send it over. Interested to see what you have. I remember you talking about it. I'm trying to remember what it was that you said. Backtesting with Ninja has been hard. I really think that, like, the right move is to make our own platform. But you know what else it is? Is that I don't think that the backtester factors in the current bid ask, right? It can't. I mean, it's not going to use historical bid ask, right? So what happens is you're going to get in, and let's say that you are buying. Let's say that your algorithm decides it's going to buy. The backtester gives you the opening price of the bar. It will give you the opening price of the bar. So if the first order in that bar was a sell, right? So think about, like, where we are right now. If this was the first bar and the first order was a 20 half and you're buying, you're not getting 20 half, you're getting 21. Right? And so that is why the NinjaTrader backtester will very, very often give you one tick better than what you get on, like, a live backtest. And is why I would probably put in at least 1 to 2 ticks of slippage whenever you're doing backtest. Now, that is better than what TradingView does, because what TradingView does, from what I can see, is it gives you the last order of the previous bar, which means that you're even more likely to get that one tick better than what you actually would have gotten. And that's why TradingView backtest results appear so optimistic. I need to go deeper into that, but I don't really care to, like, purchase the subscription for a month to like really go into detail. Maybe if things go well for us, we can do that soon, but even while, you know, so I honestly have never used the recording bit. I'm not even sure where you do that. Where do you do that? Data settings. Tools. options, market data. Oh, enable market recording. And then does it give you a setting show up somewhere where once you turn that on, then what? You have to tell it explicitly to record something, right? I'm gonna leave it unchecked. For recording, it might be different. Well, I do think that if you do the recording that you do get the DOM, but you know, it's still not completely the same thing as live as I understand. I guess the bigger problem with the recording is that you don't get enough data, right? So if you have the caching, so I can take it and add the caching to it for you, and then maybe we'll see if it works. I'm kind of noticing over in the 30-year, when I look at the 30-year, this latest little push up looks really significant, even though it didn't really look too significant to me on the DOM. But that is because the 30-year did appear to move further. We created a lot of waste. Oh, is that because you were just, you know, oh, here's the day that I have available, and then you just trying everything until you find something that seems to work for something. Assumptions that didn't work. Getcha. I think another problem here is, generally speaking, that the actual order placement is a significant part of a strategy. I am kind of been realizing, I don't know if you've kind of been seeing these conversations that we've been having, but over the past month or so, I've kind of been realizing that maybe one of the reasons why my discretionary trading seems to be more effective than the algorithms is because I've never made the algorithms really do more effective order placement. So the algorithm is basically always using a market order, and that therefore I lose like 2 ticks right there. And 2 ticks can be really significant, actually. Two ticks less on a winner and 2 ticks more on a loser. That's a swing of 4 ticks, right? All of the sudden something that was like, you know, 4 tick average profit isn't profitable anymore. So, and I think that we can do things that are relatively simple, you know, like I think we can just say, look at the market depth, and, you know, if it's relatively light, then sure, go in with a market order. Otherwise, you know, if I want to buy in the offer is the small one, then I'll hit it. And if the bid is the small one, then I'll join the bid. You have 10 loss to 16 ticks win ratio. Yeah, so 1.6 to 1. I mean, that's about what I do. Discretionarily, I get well, it's not 10 ticks, but like, you know, it's 1.5 to 1. But lately, my strike rate has been exceptionally high. And now that's probably because I've just been extremely disengaged from it. Like I'm only taking a trade when the market really, like when I feel like, I would be really foolish to have not taken a trade in any of this, Yeah, it's time for me to get going too. But you send it to me. I have some time today to look at it. So talk to you guys later. Stay excellent, team.